What if everything you were taught to believe in, every moral compass, every sacred ideal, every whispered rule of right and wrong, was nothing more than the echo of a voice long dead, a voice not yours, a ghost that clings to your spine, guiding your steps with chains disguised as meaning? In a world where no God speaks, no truth stands eternal, and the heavens offer no commandments, who are you when no one is watching? Who are you when the lights go out and the applause fades? There is no north anymore, only the trembling of your own instinct and the haunting silence where certainty used to live. And in that silence, something stirs. You were born into a script you never wrote. Words carved into your tongue before you could speak. Sins named before you could choose. And yet, the stage has shifted. The actors have vanished. The old symbols crumble like ash in your hands. So now the question sears through your skin. Will you keep reciting lines from play no longer performed? Or will you dare to write a new language with your blood, your fear, your will? Because to create your own values is not to rearrange the furniture in a burning house. It is to build fire from your own breath and step into blaze naked, unblinking, unafraid. But are you ready for that kind of freedom? Not the comfortable freedom they sell in slogans, but the violent, vertiginous freedom that tears away all your masks and leaves you face to face with the abyss of your own making. It will not comfort you. It will not hold your hand. It will demand that you become God and beast, judge and criminal, creator and destroyer. Do you feel it already? That trembling in your gut, like something sacred and monstrous waking up? That is not fear. That is your soul remembering it was once wild. What if the only way to be moral is to invent morality? What if truth, that old cathedral of certainty, was only ever scaffolding around your cowardice? Look around. Look closely. Do you see how the world shifts when no one is looking? Do you see how people parrot virtues they do not understand, defending cages as if they were castles? They will call you dangerous for asking. They will call you mad for doubting. But deep down, behind their polished smiles and borrowed beliefs, they are just as lost, only quieter, more obedient, more dead. So ask yourself, not what is right, not what is good, but what is worthy of you. What deserves the weight of your breath, your struggle, your suffering? In a world where even the stars are silent, what light will you follow? And more terrifying still, what light will you become? Because once you begin this path, once you dare to sculpt your soul from chaos, there is no turning back. The old gods will not return. The temples will not rebuild. And you will never again be able to sleep inside someone else's dream. You wake up one morning and realize something is missing, not in the world, but within. Not a possession, not a person, not a dream, but a compass. That silent instinct you used to trust. That certainty in your chest that used to whisper, "This is right." Now it stammers. Now it fades. And you wonder, not out loud, never out loud, but somewhere deep behind her eyes, what if everything I took as truth was just borrowed noise? What if my morality was a costume stitched from the fears of generations? What if my life is built upon foundations I never chose? And suddenly, the question is no longer intellectual. It's biological. It gnaws, it itches, it becomes a hunger. You walk through cities of mirrors, each face reflecting a version of who you were told to be: the obedient son, the productive citizen, the decent friend, the quiet believer. You smile on cue, you nod at lies, you say yes to things that hollow you out. But at night, when silence fills the room like smoke, something crawls into your throat. A scream, perhaps, or maybe a whisper that asks, if there are no divine laws, no eternal truths, no sacred maps, then who builds a path? And the terrifying answer is, you do, not with theory, not with books, but with pain, with loss, with rage. with that terrible freedom of knowing that no one is coming to save you, that every value you live by must now be carved, not copied, from the flesh of your own contradictions. We were raised to believe that values descend from the sky, like rain, like commandments, like gifts. But Nietzsche rips that sky open. He shows you the wires behind the curtain, the trembling hand that wrote the rules, the fear that is behind the mask of truth. And when the heavens fall silent, when God dies and the world no longer orbits a central meaning, the first instinct is panic, collapse, but then comes something else, something darker, something brighter. The realization that you can stand up, brush off the dust of old commandments, and invent meaning like fire, not to mimic the sun, but to become your own sun, unstable, burning, divine. And yet, this creation is no peaceful act. It is not a painting or a poem. It is an execution of your past, of the self you outgrew, of every comfortable illusion you used to wrap around your soul to keep the cold away. To create values is to enter war, not with the world, but with the part of you still clinging to handrails that no longer exist. You will lose friends. You will disappoint family. You will terrify those who depend on your sameness to feel safe in their own conformity. They will call you arrogant. They will say you've lost your way, but they will not understand you are not lost. You are becoming unfindable by their maps. And that is the beginning of becoming real. There is blood in the act of becoming, not always literal, but always symbolic. Because to say I would decide what matters is to murder every inherited should, every ancestral must, every whispered never. It is to dance on the ruins of doctrines with bare feet and open wounds. And somewhere in that ecstatic rupture, you begin to feel it, a new pulse, a rhythm that is not taught, but born, a value that does not echo, but erupts. You begin to sense that morality, true morality, is not a leash, it is a storm. It does not ask, is this allowed? It asks, does this reflect the height of who I can become? And if not, you burn it. And if yes, you kneel before no one. Because at the end of this spiral, after the chaos, after the silence, after the inner death, you will not be left with answers. You will be left with yourself, unmasked, unafraid, undeniable. And maybe now, as the last word echoes softly into the darkness that remains, something within you begins to pulse differently. It's not an answer. It's not relief. It's the sacred weight of responsibility that can no longer be denied. The world didn't change while you watched, but something inside you changed the way you see it. The landscape is the same, but your eyes are not, as if you had walked through fire and, instead of ashes, had found roots, as if the absence of certainty had finally revealed the solid ground from which your true can finally grow. You realize then that there was never a map, never a compass, a north, a doctrine. There were only echoes, echoes of voices that spoke louder than your intuition. And now, in this moment when the noise fades and only silence remains, you hear for the first time what was never said, your own voice, fragile, imperfect, but yours. And that is enough, because it is in that thin thread, that whisper defying chaos, that what Nietzsche called a creation of values is born, not as an imposition, but as a rebirth, not as an escape from pain, but as an elevation through it. The question is no longer what is right. The real question, the one that burns and saves, is what is worthy of my existence? You carry within you the capacity to be both creator and creature, sculptor and marble, chaos and form. The responsibility is brutal, but there is beauty in such brutality, because it means that life, instead of being obeyed, can finally be sculpted. And what you create with awareness, with anguish, with blood and truth, is eternal, even in a world where everything is fleeting. If this video pulled you out of some comfort, then it fulfilled its purpose. It wasn't meant to explain. It was meant to ignite. Maybe 3 days from now, you'll remember a single phrase. Maybe in a moment of silence, you'll feel something new growing inside. When that happens, don't run. That's the calling. And when fear comes, because it will, remember, courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward even while trembling, because only those who tremble are truly alive. If this touched something that was asleep within you, don't let the flame die alone. Like, comment, share, subscribe, not as a mechanical act, but as a pact, because you are not alone. This is the beginning of a cycle, and you have just been summoned to the hardest and most beautiful part of the journey, to become what you have not yet dared to be.